Hey folks, welcome back to another review with yours truly, Sam Healey. Today we're taking a look at Stormvault, the cooperative fantasy adventure board game. This is coming out from Games Workshop. It's part of their Barnes & Noble exclusive line, I believe. So that's where you're going to be able to pick it up. You are taking on the role of heroes that are searching for lost artifacts to close the gateway that is open in the Whispering Keep and protect the Whispering Keep. And you're doing that amid an invasion of chaos forces from a number of different avenues. And so it is very much a cooperative game. Everybody will win or lose together. So let's get back down to the table and we'll see how it works, and we'll come back with some final thoughts in just a few moments. Alright, so I have here a game of Stormvault set up for you, and the goal of the game for the heroes is to get 3 of these tokens into the Whispering Keep before one of 3 different conditions transpires. The first condition in an introductory level scenario is that this deck runs completely out. If that happens, you've lost the game. If that seems too easy for you, you can add on another level, and that is this track right here. This track will click 1 down every time a hero is defeated by a Chaos Lord or champion, and if that reaches 0, then that's another game-ending condition with the heroes losing. And then a third condition that you can add to make the game even more difficult is if there are all 6 of one kind of champion on the board at any one time, that will also end the game with the heroes losing. So the game is played out in a number of rounds where the first thing that happens during each player's turn is that they will be able to storm strike, and that is simply where they will be able to reach out to one of these different storm strike locations, here, down there in the corner over there, right here. Any of these storm strike locations, you can go from Azir down to one of those things, and that is the first thing that you do on your turn. The second thing that happens on your turn is chaos activation, where the top one of these cards is turned over and the text is read and carried out. So for example, this one says, new foes, place a new chaos champion on the chaos stronghold in your hero's current realm. So my hero is right here in the Gur realm, so we're going to go ahead and add a chaos champion to that stronghold. And then it says movement. It says move all chaos champions on a location adjacent to a realm gate in a realm in which there are no heroes, and through the realm gate to the connecting location. So these are realm gates right here. So these different spots, I don't think there are any chaos champions that are adjacent to one of them. So that second part doesn't actually happen. This goes down to the discard pile, and now that's over. Now we go to the hero activation. So as we get into the hero activation, we're going to take the quest die and roll it to see how many quest points we have for that turn. So now I have 3 points that I can use to quest. Questing can be moving. That costs 1 point. So if I want to, I can move 1, 2, and then I could attack this guy if I wanted to, or I could do something else. You're simply moving around the board and interacting with different elements of the board. So let's say that I didn't want to necessarily attack him right now. I'm going to go 1, 2, to Excelsius, and that's all I'm going to do. I'm not going to use my last quest point, and now I get to my explore phase where I can actually explore the location where I'm at. The location here is Excelsius, and I would be taking this card and simply flipping it over, and this is a quest card that I can use at certain points during the game. It will tell you when it can be used, and it usually will help you. Why would you want to explore? Well, because these cards are where these 5 shard tokens are hidden. And so you're going to want to explore in order to try to find these gateway shard tokens so that you can get 3 of them down to the Whispering Keep and end the game, win the game. So if you don't want to use this right now, or you can't use it right now because it says it's played during a specific time, then you just simply put it in your tableau and you're done. Then you would be able to go to the Receive a Gift of Sigmar action, where you can spend hero points to take a random discard token card that has been used earlier in the game. Of course, at the beginning of the game, you're not going to be able to do that very often, but that would be the end of your turn. Then the next person would be able to go, and so forth and so on, until you get the shard tokens down into the Whispering Keep. Now, combat is the one thing that we really need to speak about, because it's the one thing that kind of will ebb and flow during the course of the game. You'll run into combat if you move into a place that has a Chaos Champion in it. If a Chaos Champion moves into your space because of one of the activation cards for Chaos, then then combat will happen as well. So there's a number of different ways that you can get into combat, so we do need to cover it. Let's just say, for example, I use my 3 quest points here to go 1, 2, and then once I go in here, a combat will happen. So I'm going to go ahead and roll the die, and that happens. So when this happens, nothing happens, as I said before. But let's say that I roll this. Well, normally that would just get rid of this guy, and I would get my hero point, and that would be it. But because Nurgle has this special ability that you actually have to roll 2 of these faces, if you roll a heroic face on the first roll, you have to roll again and get another heroic face in order to defeat this guy and get him off the board. Any other result on that second die, just nothing happens, and the combat is considered resolved. But as with normal, if I roll the chaos symbol, then this guy is going to be removed and put back over here in Azir, and then this will be clicked down once, and so forth and so on. So that's generally how combat works. Now, let's say that as we rolled before, this comes up, nothing happens as per the special reading of the card. And so now I have one more quest point to use here. I can use that quest point to initiate another combat here. So I'll roll, I got the heroic face, I'll roll again, and I got the heroic face. So this guy's dead, he comes back off the board, and I take a hero point and put it into my tableau that I can use later on. And that's really how combat works. And really, that's about it, with all of the heroes moving around, exploring these different locations, trying to find at least 3 of these gateway shards, get them down to the Whispering Keep before this deck runs out. This gets all the way down here, or 6 of the same kind of Chaos Champion is out on the board. Those 3 things will end the game in a loss, but if we can get those shard tokens down to the Whispering Keep before any of those happens, the heroes have won. And that's how you play Stormvault. Well, so that's about that for Stormvault. A very basic, simple game. I think if you play it with its introductory level, it will at least teach you the mechanisms that are involved. But playing it again on the introductory level is probably not going to be very fun at all. You'll have to go to the standard or the heroic levels in order to still have fun playing the game after that initial one. As a matter of fact, I would probably just introduce heroic level at the very beginning of the game, but that's just me. I would, of course, ask the people that are playing the game what they wanted to do, but my personal thing is you've got to play it on heroic for this to be fun. So with all that being said, let's go ahead and get to my pros and cons. My first pro of the game is quite simply that it is easy to teach and easy to play. There are not a whole lot of rules going on here. There's about 1.5 pages of rules. The font is small in the rule book, and the rule book pages are a little big, but it's very well organized within the rulebook, and it's not difficult at all. Very intuitive type things, very familiar things that people who are probably going to be exposed to this game at the store or something like that would be very familiar with. Roll and move is a very familiar mechanism. You're not necessarily rolling for just movement. You're rolling for how many points you're going to have during the course of the game, and during the course of your turn. So there's that. I still don't necessarily like that, but with this pro, it's very simple and it's very familiar and it's very easy. So I get that, and I think it's a good choice for the demographic that this is being targeted at. So that's a pro. It's very simple to teach, very easy to play. My second pro of the game are the miniatures. And of course, the miniatures are from Games Workshop, so you know that quality is already here. But on top of that, these are the push-fit miniatures that are very simple to put together. And they only have a couple, maybe 3 pieces on each of the different models. So it's a very fast build, and they are very quality miniatures. One of them does have a staff that's kind of pointed up pretty high, and that's a little bit of a thing that you have to be careful with. Otherwise, he'll break easily. But that's just because of the design of the cast, and you really just have to be careful with it, simply. But the models, the detail, everything is amazingly well done here, and it's what you expect from Games Workshop. The other components in the game are fine. I wouldn't say they're great. The cards are a little flimsy. The tokens are not bad. They're a durable card stock as far as the cardboard is concerned. The different quest cards and the ability that they have, they're all a decent quality, not the best, but they'll not show their age quickly, I don't think, because for most of the time they're going to be spending their times tucked under the board and not being handled very much at all. You use it once and then it's gone into the discard pile. So I think everything taken into consideration, the component quality as a whole, with of course the miniatures taking center stage, is good. And my third pro of the game is the theme and the fact that it's cooperative. Now, I will say this a little bit. I thought that this is the game that the Lord of the Rings game that they came out with, that looks almost exactly similar, has the same tucking cards under the board mechanism and all that kind of stuff, and you're basically doing the same thing. But the Lord of the Rings one was a competitive game, and this one is a cooperative game. Now, I like the cooperative fashion of it. I do. That's what my pro is. I love the cooperative nature of it because we're not battling against each other. It's not a take that game against the players of the game. We're cooperatively battling against the forces of chaos. And it works, I guess you could say, in this, but it would have worked so much more seamlessly, I guess you could say, in the Lord of the Rings. I don't understand why they made the Lord of the Rings one a competitive game and this one is cooperative. Don't get it, but at the same time, I like the fact that it's cooperative. I think the Lord of the Rings theme would have been better with a cooperative thing, but, that's neither here nor there. The cooperative nature of this game is also a huge pro for me because it's going to appeal even more to that group of people that they're looking for. You're not going to try to be competitive with one another. You're going to be working together with a lot of different familiar mechanisms that are easy to teach and fun to play. So there you have that. I like the cooperative nature of this game. Now, with all that being said, I do have some cons that I want to talk about. The first con is I do not like roll and move or roll for actions because it just opens itself up to the possibility that one person will only get 1 quest point on their turn. So they'll be able to do just one thing. And then somebody else will get 6 quest points on their turn. And you know what? At the beginning of the game, that actually doesn't really matter how many quest points you're getting because you want to explore at all the different locations because you're looking for these quest tokens, these gateway shard tokens to try to win the game. You don't want to leave any leaf unturned, if you get what I mean. So whether I roll a 6 or a 1 at the beginning of the game, it doesn't really matter unless I'm trying to get over there and defeat one of those Chaos Champions because we're about to lose the game with that losing condition. So, but the main con here is the fact that somebody can get 1 while another person gets 6 actions on their turn, and that just is problematic for me. Now, I think probably the demographic that this is being targeted at, they're not going to care that much about that. That's something that they're familiar with. The roll and move is something that they can latch onto, and that's a familiarity that they can use to understand the game easier. And I get that. That's fine. But for me personally, I really dislike it because it's such an imbalancing thing, and it's problematic for me. My second con of the game is quite simply that the graphic design is very dry. The pictures that are employed and the artwork that's employed is good, But at the same time, they're just little circles on a very drab background. And I understand the abstract nature that they were going for here, but at the same time, I think that they could have made the board look so much better. I had a very similar nitpick with the Lord of the Rings one because it had a very similar graphic design as this one does. So I feel like I'm kind of a broken record here because I'm making the same complaint about the same kind of game coming from the same company, but I get what they were trying to do. I just don't like it. So it just looks boring. And there isn't a whole lot of things, artwork and assets like that I can grab onto and kind of enjoy the theme a little bit more. Now, the theme itself is very gritty and it's very gory, so I'm glad they didn't go over the top with it. But at the same time, I think they could have gone a little bit more and made the board look a little bit more attractive, and they just didn't. So that's another con for me. And my final con with the game is that I think the introductory level is just too easy. I don't think that you're going to have trouble beating it by any stretch of the means on the introductory level. The standard level, maybe you'll have some trouble with it if you get some bad die rolls. And you lose the game by being defeated by too many Chaos Champions. But I really think to have a challenge presented to you, you must play on the heroic level. So why didn't they just make it that way? I get that they're trying to give this, three-tiered process to introducing yourself to the game, but I think the introductory level is just too easy. Maybe just make it two modes where it's like standard and heroic. That would have been better in my opinion, where you have two losing factors instead of only one. So all in all, I didn't dislike the game. I had some nitpicks for the cons and stuff like that, but I didn't dislike the game. But at the same time, it's very much middle of the road for me. Maybe slightly better than middle of the road. I wouldn't mind playing this again, but I probably won't pick it. I'll give it a 6 out of 10 for here on out. I think that it's okay as if you're trying to pull somebody into the board game scene who maybe likes Warhammer 40K or likes Warhammer Age of Sigmar or something like that, and you're trying to pull them into the board game, I think that it'll work that way. I didn't dislike the game, but I think there's so much more that they could have done for it, but I just don't know how much of that desire that I have for it to be more is based upon me just being a gamer. And I think this isn't necessarily for gamers. It's for people who are new to the hobby. And I get that, and I think it's good for that. But at the same time, 6 out of 10, that's what I'm going to give it. Thanks for joining me. I certainly appreciate it. We will see you guys and gals on the flip side. Take care.
Thanks so much for watching another Dice Tower video. If you enjoy our videos, subscribe to the channel for more fun, comprehensive board game coverage. Also, consider joining us at one of our events. Come to Dice Tower Retreat, a small, intimate gathering where gaming is king. Join us for Dice Tower Cruise, the largest board game cruise. Attend Dice Tower West in Las Vegas for gaming fun on the West Coast, or Dice Tower East in Orlando in sunny Florida. Dice Tower Conventions, the friendliest gaming conventions on Earth. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.